Hi, I'm Alexis Sneller with the Pennsylvania Family Institute, and I'm so thrilled that all of you are on your way to the National March for Life in Washington, D.C. It's so encouraging to hear everyone's pro-life story and to see the pro-life movement gather together to advocate for life. Here, I want to take the time to talk to you a little bit about the pro-life movement and situation in Pennsylvania. We're at a really crucial point where we have the opportunity to pass incredible pro-life protections, but we need your help to do it. So here to talk a little bit about it is the president of the Pennsylvania Family Institute, Michael Gear. Michael, can you give us a little bit of background on the situation?
I sure will. Thanks, Lexi. Thanks for your introduction. And it is certainly an exciting day to be heading down to Washington, D.C. for the March for Life. And there's excitement from people coming all over the country, but especially Pennsylvania sends more people historically to the March for Life in Washington, D.C. than any other state. And there's a lot of reasons for that. We're kind of close to Washington, D.C. That makes it easier than, say, coming from South Dakota or California. But besides that, Pennsylvania has historically also been a very pro-life state with pro-life enactments over the years that many of you have been a part of making happen in our state. We're grateful for that. And what an opportunity as we head to Washington, D.C. and we march from the mall where the rally will take place all the way up past the Capitol to the Supreme Court steps. And the Supreme Court, the US Supreme Court, is vitally important this year because of the Dobbs case. Some of you came down to Washington to be on the steps as the Dobbs case out of Mississippi was being argued before the Supreme Court. That is a case that we have been praying for and considering and hoping for a long time that could result in the overturn of the infamous Roe versus Wade abortion decision of 1973. That abortion decision imposed abortion on demand throughout all 9 months of pregnancy on every state in the union for any reason whatsoever or for no reason. And we've been chipping away at the Roe versus Wade decision over the years, but the possible overturn of Roe versus Wade is something to celebrate and certainly to pray for as we march today at the March for Life. And so that's an exciting opportunity that's happening for the pro-life movement. Of course, if the Dobbs decision does result, if the Dobbs case does result in an overturn of Roe versus Wade, that doesn't make abortion illegal. In Pennsylvania, all it does is leave things as they are, but it allows the state, Pennsylvania and the other states, to then enact further protection for unborn life and for women, their mothers, through laws passed through the legislature. It returns the issue back to the states and gives us the opportunity to protect life, which we deserve and we need to do. So that's the great positives about the Dobbs decision. But as we focus today on what's going on in Washington, D.C., we want to bring to your attention a big threat to the sanctity of life that's coming in Pennsylvania in a different court, the Supreme Court of Pennsylvania. It's a case out of Western Pennsylvania, but really a statewide case that threatens the sanctity of life going forward. And to talk about that threat to the sanctity of life, and we'll get into what we can do about it, is our senior counsel at the Independence Law Center here at Pennsylvania Family Institute, Jeremy Samick.
Yeah, that's right, Michael. And so just as we in the pro-life community are so excited to see the possibility that Roe versus Wade is going to be overturned, the abortion industry sees that writing on the wall as well. And they've been hard at work trying to find other avenues to ensure that abortion is not only available and protected in the way it was in the past, but in Pennsylvania, they've found a way to try to make it even more extreme than it even is under Roe versus Wade. So what they did is file a lawsuit. It's called Allegheny Reproductive Health Center versus Pennsylvania Human Health Services. And this lawsuit alleges that there's a right to abortion in our state constitution. So think about like a mini Roe versus Wade, only more extreme, that would extend abortion to all 40 weeks. We have a much more liberal Supreme Court than our US Supreme Court. And even the regulations we've been able to pass in Pennsylvania under Roe, even those would be deemed unconstitutional under our state constitution if this result occurs. So the status of that case is pending before our very liberal PA Supreme Court right now. The abortion industry is asking for two things. The first, they're saying that our state constitution should require our state taxpayer money to pay for elective abortions. The second thing is they're saying that our state constitution protects the right to have abortion all through 40 weeks. So this lawsuit we had a victory at the Commonwealth Court section, but it was on a procedural issue. It wasn't a substantive decision. That was appealed up to the PA Supreme Court, where it's pending now. Our Independence Law Center filed a amicus brief, and I'm going to have Judge Cheryl Allen talk about that amicus brief that we filed to try to fight back in that case. But again, the chances of winning that is very small based on the very liberal makeup of that court. And then after Judge Allen talks about the amicus brief that we filed in that Pennsylvania Supreme Court case, Michael Geer is going to get on and talk about what we all need to do as a pro-life community to fight back and get a constitutional amendment to our state constitution passed to prevent the court from manufacturing a right to abortion in our state constitution.
Well, it's interesting when you consider the amicus brief that we filed, because the Allegheny Reproductive Women's Health Center, along with New Voices for Reproductive Justice and many Planned Parenthood organizations, have sought to advance their argument under the guise of being concerned about poor and Black women not having equal access to abortion. And this is the height of hypocrisy, because if you look at the statistics in the state of Pennsylvania, Black women are not underserved by abortion. If anything, they are overserved, and they have been targeted by the abortion industry. Black women, or the Black community in Pennsylvania, comprises about 12% of the population. Yet, nearly 45% of all of the abortions in Pennsylvania are committed on Black women. It's also a tactic that they've used to say that somehow the denial of access to abortion is a health issue, as if pregnancy is more dangerous to a woman's health than abortion. And we know that this is language that they have co-opted and corrupted, because abortion is not health. Abortion kills people, and health is purpose to heal people. And so this case is about carrying on the racist tradition that the abortion industry has had since its beginning, since its founding and its founder, Margaret Sanger. And that is the decimation and destruction of the Black population in this country. And so this brief was filed on behalf of a number of prominent pro-life Black leaders around the country, such as Alveda King and Ryan Baumberger, Star Parker, and Dean Nelson, and many others. And I am hoping that the Pennsylvania Supreme Court, as liberal as they are, will at least consider the fact, I mean, they say that they're very concerned about equity and fairness and justice, and they're concerned about racism. And I hope that they will consider our brief, read our brief, and consider the negative adverse impact on the Black community that the abortion industry has had.
Well, thank you, Judge Allen. We are hopeful that that brief will have an impact on the Pennsylvania Supreme Court, but we need to be ready whatever they decide. And what we expect based on their track record as a court is that they very well will decide in support of the abortion industry. And what that will mean, as Jeremy has laid out, is taxpayer funding of abortion. That means the folks riding this bus today, all of the taxpayers of Pennsylvania paying for elective abortions in Pennsylvania. But what's more than that is the court is also going to, if they decide as we expect, they're going to invent a right to abortion in Pennsylvania's Constitution. And what that means is that the current pro-life laws in Pennsylvania are at risk of being struck down, will likely be struck down, as well as then any future laws in Pennsylvania, pro-life laws, will be found to be unconstitutional. There is a remedy, though, and something the pro-life movement is already a step ahead and working on, and why we need all of your help in addressing this remedy for this expected bad court decision later this year. That remedy is a Pennsylvania constitutional amendment. That amendment has already been drafted, it's been submitted, and is before the Pennsylvania House of Representatives and Senate. The process of a constitutional amendment is for the amendment to be introduced and then pass both the House and the Senate in 2 successive terms of the legislature, and then it goes to a vote of the people. And as you can well imagine, that's going to be a big task, and it's going to need every pro-lifer to be engaged, to be communicating with your elected officials, to be involved, and to be planning to vote and getting other people to vote when it goes to the ballot, hopefully in the fall of 2023. So about this constitutional amendment, number one, it addresses the issue of taxpayer funding. It says nothing in this Constitution will require taxpayer funding of abortion. It also addresses the issue of this so-called right to abortion, which we expect the Supreme Court to invent based on what Planned Parenthood's asking them to do. It says nothing in this Constitution addresses the issue of abortion. So it eliminates that notion that there's a right to abortion in there. And then it states what is the current policy of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, and that is to protect unborn life. That is already in law and statute in Pennsylvania. So it's a simple amendment, one that we as pro-lifers all can support. And then it protects our ability, Lord willing, when the Dobbs decision comes down and we overturn Roe versus Wade, it protects our ability to protect life going forward. And we need to be engaged. Everybody on this bus, everybody you know who has a commitment to the sanctity of life, or even cares about this issue at all, or cares about taxpayer funding being used for this, needs to be engaged, because we need to pass this constitutional amendment. I'm going to turn it back over to Alexis Sneller to have more for you.
Thank you, Michael, and to others on the team at Pennsylvania Family Institute and our Independence Law Center. You've really laid out that this is a serious threat to life, that our team is hard at work to prevent, that we're working to protect life. But I think one thing that you really highlighted that everyone on this bus will care about is that it's not just our team, and we can't just do what we do on our own. We really depend on the pro-life movement and the partnership of so many Pennsylvanians across our state. And, we've been so encouraged by all the pro-life measures and actions that the pro-life community has taken in the past. And so we're really encouraging you to step up just as you have before, and to really jump into this. And we can make really encouraging strides for life. So Dan Barkowiak on our team is here to share a little bit more about what you specifically can do to make a difference for life, and to make a Pennsylvania where life is protected and cherished and abortion is unthinkable. So Dan, and then also Kurt Weaver from our team will be sharing a little bit more.
Thanks, Alexis. And a huge thank you to everyone that is listening and making the time investment to be there at the March for Life. And we absolutely need everyone, as Michael and Alexis and our team are really highlighting. We need you. We need everyone in this pro-life movement across our state to be involved. And we want to make that as easy as possible for you to be able to communicate this need, this very serious threat in our state. So I encourage you to go to pafamily.org. We have information about this constitutional amendment. We make it easy for you to contact your elected officials. Obviously, this is certainly a policy that needs to be passed by your state senator and state representative. So we make that easy for you in contacting them through email. So you can go again to pafamily.org for that ability. We certainly encourage you to call and to schedule a visit with your elected official to really encourage them to co-sponsor this legislation, to be a yes vote on this constitutional amendment. And specifically in the Senate, it's Senate Bill 956, sponsored by Senator Judy Ward. And so we are encouraging many senators to show their support by being a co-sponsor or by saying that they'll be voting yes on that legislation. So we need your help to make that happen. So we appreciate that time investment you could make to make those contacts with your elected officials, to encourage others to do the same. So again, we have handouts, we have bulletin inserts, we have summaries of this issue that you're welcome to use, and to really try to educate those that are in your spheres of influence. So we certainly appreciate what you can do to help. There's going to be much involved in this. This is a long-term process of what's going to be needed for this constitutional amendment. And it's something that we really need everyone to be involved. I know when we're looking at the March for Life, Jeannie Mancini often talks about, we need to make abortion unthinkable. And we absolutely need to have that in mind. And certainly through this constitutional amendment process, that we need that in order to make that process of seeing abortion unthinkable happen in Pennsylvania. So Kurt Weaver on our team is going to talk a little bit more on what your church family and others can do, more action that can be taken on this constitutional amendment.
Well, thank you, Dan. And wow, we are so encouraged that all of you are coming down to DC for the National March for Life. And I would say this, there is no better thing that you can do with your time than this. The church community needs to stand up for the sanctity of life. And we know we need to stand up for life because scripture tells us to. Ephesians 5 says this, "Let no one deceive you with empty words, for because of these things, the wrath of God comes upon the sons of disobedience. Therefore, do not become partakers with them. For at one time you were darkness, but now you are light in the Lord. Walk then as children of light, for the fruit of light is found in all that is good and right and true, and try to discern what is pleasing to the Lord. Take no part in unfruitful works of darkness, but instead expose them. For it is shameful even to speak of the things that they do in secret. But when anything is exposed by the light, it becomes visible." I read these verses mainly because I want to encourage you. I want to encourage you because today, as you go down to DC, you are walking as children of light. This issue is really a light and darkness issue. In fact, scripture tells us here, light is the fruit of what is good and right and true. It is so good and right and true to stand up for the unborn, to stand up for life, and you're doing that very thing. When it comes to church life, I want to encourage you, if you're a pastor or a leader or a priest in your church, I want to encourage you to consider how your church can play a role in standing up for life here in this state. You know, it talks about in these verses that no one should deceive you with empty words. Well, I think as church leaders, as people in the church, we need to be encouraging each other how to think biblically about life. And so we need to preach on the topic. We need to teach on this topic. And we also need to inform people in our churches. And as congregants, as Christians, we need to, as I mentioned, walk in the light. And that means acting. And it also means exposing the darkness that we see in our world. And that darkness is certainly abortion. And it is the evil of our day that we need to expose and bring out into the light. So I want to encourage you, if you're a church leader, do what you can, do your part to encourage your church to be involved, and also to pray, lead your church to pray about the sanctity of life, and pray that we will be able to win these things in the courts, and also with the constitutional amendment, that God would shine his favor upon us and really allow Pennsylvania to be a beacon of light for life. Michael, I throw it back to you.
Well, thank you, Kurt. And it is an exciting day heading down to Washington, D.C. We're excited about the March for Life. We're excited about the opportunities and the challenges that come here in Pennsylvania. And one of the things I want to thank everybody for participating in was the Pennsylvania March for Life, the first ever Pennsylvania March for Life that we held back this past September, on September 27th, a massive turnout. And many of you on this bus were part of that great rally that we had there at the Capitol and that march in Harrisburg. And I just wanted to mention that we are planning for a march this fall, September 19th. September 19th, you can put that on your calendar, 2022, September 19th, 2022. It's also a Monday. And we look forward to having you come for the Pennsylvania March for Life. And with the constitutional amendment, will be in full swing, that effort during that time period. We have plenty to be engaged in and participating in that March for Life for. So we're excited about that. With that, I'm going to turn it back over to our host, Alexis Sneller, to wrap us up.
Thank you so much, Michael. And thanks for sharing more about the ways that we can take action for life. I'm so excited to see the ways that God is going to use the pro-life community and even use people on this bus with everyone's unique stories, perspectives, gifts, skills. I just can't wait to see the way that the pro-life community is going to pull together and how we can really work to get this passed. So thank you again, everyone. I would encourage you to visit pafamily.org. We have a citizen action center that makes it really easy to take action. And that's also where you can stay up to date on these important issues. So we're so excited for that. And also really looking forward to the Pennsylvania March for Life, which Michael just mentioned. And I will say, as we're all headed down to the National March for Life today, it is going to be much warmer in Harrisburg when we have that Pennsylvania March for Life. So we're going to show you a little bit of a recap of some highlights from our first ever Pennsylvania March for Life last year, and looking forward to the next one.
Today is the Pennsylvania March for Life, the first ever Pennsylvania March for Life on the Capitol steps. And it's a tremendous turnout from people all over this state who have come to make a stand for the sanctity of life.
Do we have some pro-life people out here?
I cannot believe the size of this crowd. I haven't seen a crowd this big ever. This might be the first March for Life in PA. But based on the size of the audience, this is not the last.
My birth mother experienced the horror and the violence of rape, but yet was courageous enough to choose life and give me the incredible gift of adoption. So whether you're planned or unplanned, whether you're able or disabled, red, yellow, black, brown, or white, I don't care what beautiful hue you are, every human life has purpose.
Hello, Pennsylvania. We are united by a common mission, our common understanding that every life from the moment of conception or fertilization is precious and demands respect and the ability to actually live.
I'm Jeannie Mancini and I'm president of the March for Life. Events like this are critical because we need to draw a line in the sand on the most significant human rights abuse of today, abortion. We've marched for 48 years in this country, and we need to keep marching until abortion becomes unthinkable.
Somebody has to take a stand, and if not us, then who? It's you and me, in our high schools, in our colleges, and in our professional life.
When you support abortion, when you are a pro-abortion person, you have to believe the lie. Because if you actually allow yourself to know the truth, to see the truth, to believe the truth, then you can't support abortion anymore.
I love that people can come together and that they feel like they're not alone in this fight, because sometimes it can feel really isolating. You know, like scripture says, don't grow weary in doing good, and we're here doing good and using our voices and getting energized for the cause for life.
Awesome to see so many people passionate about fighting to end the violent injustice of abortion. And that's why I will keep on speaking for life and praying that not only does this fight continue, but that we're actually able to bring the end of abortion while we continue to do the life-affirming work and affirming those who are facing unplanned pregnancies and loving them and providing for them so that they understand that they have purpose, that their child has purpose, that their life has purpose.